I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelenskyy was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap, because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody, to the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad. But it's very complex because you have lines that are very uneven, and there'll be some swapping, there'll be some changes in land, and the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine. But they've taken some very prime territory. They've taken largely ocean, in real estate we call it oceanfront property. That's always the most valuable property. If you're in a lake, a river, or an ocean, it's always the best property. Well, Ukraine, a lot of people don't know that Ukraine was largely 1,000 miles of ocean. That's gone. Other than one small area, Odessa, it's a small area. There's just a little bit of water left. So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now, I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now.
President Donald Trump took aim at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in a press event on Monday over his frustration with the Ukrainian leader's objection to land swapping. I get along with Zelenskyy, but, I disagree with what he's done. Very, very severely disagree. This is a war that should have never happened, Trump said, reiterating his belief that the Ukrainian president is in part at fault for Russia's illegal 2022 invasion. I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelenskyy was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval, Trump said. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody, Trump added, noting it was for the good of Ukraine. Zelenskyy, who did not declare war on Russia, as Moscow had already invaded, did declare martial law on February 24, 2022, with the approval of Ukraine's parliament, which gave him presidential powers to mobilize a military response, made clear over the weekend that he objected to Trump's land-swapping proposal, and has repeatedly said it would require a national referendum under the nation's constitution, not a unilateral decision by him. Trump wouldn't detail what exactly he hopes to get out of the meeting with Putin, and described it as a feel-out meeting, saying, within the first 2 minutes, he'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made. I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war, you got to end it, Trump said, reiterating his belief that if he had won the 2020 election, Putin wouldn't have invaded Ukraine, saying he wasn't going to mess with me. I go into that thing fully loaded right up there, and we're going to see what happens, he continued. It could be a good meeting, and we'll go a step further. We'll get it done. I'd like to see a ceasefire very, very quickly, very quick, he continued. And we're going to be dealing with the European leaders, and we're going to be dealing with President Zelenskyy, and hopefully we're going to have a great success.